Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. It is great to be here on a Thursday afternoon. Man, this week has gone by fast. It is great to be here on the Power Lunch with my guest today. We're gonna have a fun conversation, and I think an informative one. The whole point of the show is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, CEOs, people leaders who are doing amazing work and interesting work. People that we feel like you're going to gain something from the conversation that we have. We can all learn. We can always learn. So it's good to have top-notch guests on that we can learn from to get better at what we do. The program can be interactive. The only way that happens is if you ask questions. So get on that keyboard, ask questions. We're not only broadcasting on LinkedIn, but we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, I think a couple other things. But ask those questions. We'll monitor those platforms and try to get to your answers of what you have what you're curious about. Now, if you like the program, give it a like or share. We like to share the knowledge, and maybe your network can benefit from these conversations as well. And we can also grow our audience. That helps everybody. Today I have Ahmad Munawar. I know I'm mispronouncing it.
You passed. Good enough.
Well, sorry about that.
No worries.
That's the problem. You and I both had difficult names. I get called everything from rat to all the time. So I'm used to people killing my name here. He is host of the Marketing Out Loud podcast. He's founder of Boutique Growth and creator of the 90-Day Pipeline. Ahmad, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Rhett. It's good to be here. Looking forward to it.
So how's the coronavirus and the pandemic and all of that sort of impacting you personally and your business?
Business-wise, we just had a record month in April.
Really?
So not buying this idea that this is the worst thing to happen to us economically. Obviously, some industries are getting hit hard, and we can't ignore that. And if you're in an industry that is particularly vulnerable to the threat and the shutdown, then that's unfortunate. I think a lot of folks have a growth opportunity that lies in front of them. The thing that everyone needs to be thinking about right now is relevancy. How do I make sure that my offer, my value proposition, the work that we do is relevant, both amidst COVID, post-COVID, and beyond? Relevancy is the name of the game right now. So we've really doubled down on our value proposition. We have communicated to the market why they need to work with us now more than ever. And we're seeing unprecedented growth. And it's been fantastic because we get to help a lot of people who are otherwise struggling to bring in business and to generate revenue amidst the pandemic, find ways to do so, and therefore come out of the pandemic stronger than ever before. It's my personal belief, Rhett, that the folks who double down right now, when things are slow and people aren't really buying necessarily, but could be, and they double down on strategy and positioning and messaging and lead generation and put the infrastructure in place to come out stronger, will come out stronger. And the folks who hide will come out of this worse off than they were before. So we've seen tremendous growth. A lot of our clients are seeing tremendous growth, and that's been fantastic. Personally, I still come into my office.
Get out of the house.
Breaking the rules there a little bit. I got 3 kids, 8, 4, and 2, and I know that's very common, and people are struggling with the work from home thing with the kids. For our family, it's been relatively status quo because my kids are homeschooled. So they're used to not going to school. And they have obviously a shortage of outdoor activities and extracurricular activities now, which has been challenging. But they're used to their kind of routine. And if I was in the house, they'd mess up my routine and I would mess up their routine. I think they want me there less than I want to be there. So I've still been coming into the office.
That's, you got to do it. You got to figure out how to make it work right for everybody. I mean, it has changed sort of the equation in our personal lives, definitely, and our work lives. So what I find it interesting because, what you're saying is actually really encouraging and really positive, because you hear so many horror stories of, this business and that business really being impacted by this. And and not being able to operate, not being able to work. And so it's really good news to hear that your business is really growing. And it makes sense though to a degree, right? Because when people, I know that when I ran my toy company, we started a few months before the recession hit, or about a year before the recession hit, and all year, that first year and a half, it was no, 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 no. I'm not interested. Not going to change my business. Not going to change my product line. I'm not going to, And when the recession hit and things became a little more desperate, people were a lot more open to trying something new. And I sort of equate that to what you're saying in a sense. Is this has opened people's eyes to say, hey, maybe I need to think about this differently. Maybe I need to think about how I'm doing my business differently. So I get that. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is, we get a lot of these. I get a lot of, in my inbox anyway, in my in-mail box on LinkedIn and social media, I get a lot of these type of offers, right? Let me help you get, 5 and 6 figure deals closed. Let me fill your pipeline worth of stuff, worth of lead, full of leads. How do you break through all that noise with your program? Because there's a lot of that out there. And so how do you get through that to people and actually get them to try the program?
So we break through the noise in a way that's very similar to how we teach our clients to break through the noise. And that is the following. People think they know what they need, but they actually need something completely different. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. In our example, everyone thinks that they need leads. You ask 10 business owners, what's holding you back right now? Why aren't you getting better results? And 9 out of the 10 are going to say, well, we need more leads. If we only had more leads.
I've been guilty of that. I'm guilty of that.
Well, we all were at some point, and I probably still am to a certain extent, but we tend to think that if we just had more people coming in the door, right? We had more people who wanted to work with us, come into our website, sending us inquiries, everything would be amazing. But what we neglect, and it's very common, is what is required to get those leads. So the short-sighted business person is going to go and say, well, I need to do more lead generation. I guess I better go post more stuff on LinkedIn. I guess I better send more connection requests. I guess I better send more emails. I guess I better run more advertising. I guess I better do all these very tactical, mundane things to generate leads. And the vast majority of people that are pitching you, Rhett, and showing up in your inbox are very focused on those mundane, tactical things. Right. Well, and if you ask them, well, how are you going to help me with that? Well, we're going to send a bunch of connection requests, and we're going to send a bunch of messages. We're going to send a bunch of emails. We're going to run all these ads. Right. And that somehow magically, if we do all these things, all these tactics that are, by the way, available to all of your competitors and are being used by all of your competitors, that somehow, if you engage in this tactic, it's going to rain leads overnight. And let me be potentially the first to tell your audience that that's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie. That just ain't how it works. Our difference, Rhett, is that when we work with clients, we work on positioning before we work on prospecting. And that's a bit of a mantra in our program. Positioning over prospecting. That is getting really clear on the relevancy piece that we talked about earlier. How and why are you relevant to your market? But that begins with who is your market, because you can't be all things to all people. And I get clients that come to me all the time and prospects who come and say, well, we target everybody. We don't want to lose any business. Well, that's a problem because I don't know how to target everybody. That's impossible.
You don't have the money.
You don't have the money to do that, right? You don't have the budget and the team and the resources to be everything to everybody. And I also don't know how to craft a meaningful and compelling message to everybody. I don't know how to do that. So that begins with getting really clear on who you're going after. We call that client clarity. And then defining your position in that market.
Okay.
Right. And positioning to me is fundamentally about answering the question, why you?
Okay.
Why should I choose you? So I'll give you an example. If you take me, for example, what is my positioning strategy? What is my answer to the question, why you? Well, in my market, you've got 2 broad camps of people. Okay. You have the traditional B2B consulting guys. Okay.
Right.
And these are folks who probably come up in big firms, launched their own firm, and grew it on very traditional tactics. You know, the networking, the word of mouth, the coffee, the golf, the lunch, right? Bless their hearts, right? That's all they know. That's what they did, and it worked for them back then. Less effective now, but it certainly worked at some point. They built an impressive brand in business. Now they teach those same tactics to other people. Okay,
Right.
That's one camp. Second camp is the people that are pitching you. They're the digital marketers. Okay, typically young, very good, and well, in some cases good and bad, but in many cases very, very good, savvy digital marketers mastered a tactic. They figured out LinkedIn, or they figured out Facebook advertising. They figured out podcasting, YouTube, whatever. They've mastered a tactic. Okay.
Right.
And the problem is these digital marketers never consulted or delivered a B2B service or worked with a corporation a day in their lives. They just know this particular shiny object marketing tactic. Don't know anything about consulting. And these consultants, they're great at consulting, and they have these very traditional tactics, but don't understand digital marketing.
Right.
And you have almost nobody in the middle except for me.
Okay.
So I'm one of the very few providers and coaches and mentors in this space that combines a robust B2B consulting background, did the big firm thing, did the boutique firm thing, built a firm from the ground up to 7 figures, built my own firm from the ground up to multiple 7 figures, and a very strong digital marketing pedigree. You're not going to find many people like that. So that's not a emotional argument. That's not a, sensationalist argument. That's kind of a matter of fact. That's where I stand in the market. And if you're looking for somebody that can combine those two worlds in an effective way and give you a plan that's going to work for your business, I'm pretty much all you got. And that's positioning in a nutshell. You can see how that translates into effective tactical execution. If I didn't have that and my messaging wasn't lined up like that, I could execute all the tactics in the world. They wouldn't do anything for me.
Yeah, fair enough. So talk about the 90-day pipeline, the program, your program that you've created, and how does it work? How do you do it? What are the steps of it? And kind of walk us through what that looks like. If let's say you were consulting, use me as a case study. How would you work with me, knowing I'm an executive coach or an executive advisor? How would it look working with a coach or a business like mine?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done with the 90-day pipeline is we've condensed the entire end-to-end marketing and business development process into 90 days. And that is to say that typically it takes people months and months and months, if not years and years and years, to get through all of this work and arrive at a place where they have a system to generate business that actually works.
Trial and error. It takes people. Yeah.
Well, it's look at the challenges here, right? Most of our clients are not professional marketers, so they don't understand marketing. They don't understand sales. They're trying things that don't work. They're drinking the Kool-Aid of the experts and the gurus who are purveying some shiny object. And the messaging typically sounds like this shiny object is the future. Everything else is dead. So they go there. And then when that doesn't work, they chase another shiny object. And this cycle repeats itself for months and months and years. Or they're relying on word of mouth and referral, which is fantastic. I love word of mouth and referrals as much as the next guy. Don't want to bet my business on it. Right. And sometimes it takes years for them to figure out a system that actually works. And we've condensed that entire process, the hard questions that need to be asked, the strategies to be determined, the tactics to be executed on in this very intense 90-day window. And it's very powerful. And the steps that we go through are very simple, conceptually, difficult in practice. And that's where we help our clients. One is it's defining who you want to go after. We call that client clarity, right?
Okay.
That's the first domino to fall. And I think of this exactly like that. It's a series of dominoes. Okay. If we don't knock over client clarity, that is who we going after, none of the other dominoes are going to fall over. They're going to be right where they were. Right. And the system doesn't work. When we know who we're going after, power positioning. How do you show up in that market? Why should they choose you? Why are you the best choice in the marketplace? One of my mentors, Jay Abraham, talks a lot about becoming the preeminent expert. Becoming the very best, the one and only choice in the marketplace, not for everybody, mind you, because that's impossible. I tell my clients all the time, I'm probably not the best marketer in the world, right? But I probably am one of the best marketers in the world for consultants. I can be a big fish in a small pond. I can be the one and only choice for a particular market, but I can't be the one and only choice for everybody. So that's why
okay.
client clarity is important. And I don't want to be.
Right.
I don't want to be.
You don't need to be. I mean, it really, if you pick that one niche and you're the only choice, I mean, that's, that's powerful. So I interrupted you. So go ahead.
No, but it's a good point that you make, right? I think one of the exercises I like to go through with clients is if you look at your business from the vantage point of an investor. Mm-hmm. Let's say you were investing in your own business. You want to ask yourself, are you satisfied with the way that the resources of the business are being expended to drive value and create value? And your primary resource right now, if you're watching this show, is probably your expertise. Are your expertise being deployed effectively? And could your expertise yield a higher return if they were more focused in their application? Most cases, a resounding yes.
Yes. So what does that power positioning look like? What does that mean?
So look, ultimately the most powerful positioning is born in the mind of the client and not in your mind. So it's a function of a few things. Looking at where clients and where the market is struggling, right? Every market has challenges. Every market has problems. Every market has pains. And in most cases, there's a large segment of the market that has been consistently struggling with those challenges over and over and over again. They're repetitive, recurring, perennial challenges, if you will. And they've tried a number of things in the marketplace, but none of those things have worked, and they continue to struggle. At the same time, there's competitors who are saying very similar things. One of the tests I like to put clients through is if I take your LinkedIn profile or your website copy and I take the LinkedIn profiles or the website copies of your 5 closest competitors, and I take away anything that would identify you or them, would any of your prospects be able to tell the difference? And usually the answer is no, right? Before they start working with me, it all sounds the same. So you got all these competitors who are saying the same things, working in the same way, delivering the same kind of solutions, and prospects that continue to struggle.
Yeah.
Power positioning is fundamentally about bringing something fresh to that market and saying to the market, well, you're struggling because of this. This is why you're struggling. This is what you haven't figured out. So for me, it's, well, you're really focused on prospecting and lead generation and turning the gears and the tactics, but you actually have a positioning problem. Nobody really knows what you're about. Nobody really knows what you stand for. Nobody really knows why they should care about you. And until you solve that problem, the tactics won't help you. And it's similar in every market. There is a truth. There's a fundamental truth as to why clients are struggling and why your competitors are not able to serve them in the way they ought to be served. And positioning is about finding out what that truth is, owning it, and then showing the market there's actually a better way to do things and demonstrating your ability to show them that better way and deliver on it.
How does the messaging change right now, you think, for like a consultant or somebody that's offers a business, solution or help? I mean, because to me, it seems like a lot of places are cutting back. I hear from coaches all the time. They're saying, look, they're cutting the budget for training. They're cutting the budget for, personal development. They're cutting the budget for coaching. Do you think it's a different message now?
I think it's a different message now, but it's the same message now.
Okay.
That's what I mean by that. In a growing, booming economy, you could have gotten away with being very lazy about your value proposition. Mm-hmm. And many people did, right? There was money to spend. There were budgets. If you were in the right place at the right time and you talked a good game and you look credible, people would buy from you. And for the last 10 years, that's really what happened, is people could get lazy about value proposition, messaging, positioning, all of these things, and they can get away with it. The smart folks knew that they can get better results by having all this buttoned up. Right? But everybody else just kind of went with the flow. Money was flowing, no big deal. They were comfortable. Now, relevancy is the name of the game. If your offer to your market is not highly relevant, as evidenced by the fact that they continue to want to work with you. I was telling a client the other day that if you are not one of the very last expenses that your client cuts, you have a relevancy problem.
Yeah.
You have a relevancy problem. They don't know why they need you. In good times, they thought they needed you. In bad times, if they don't think they need you, you have a relevancy problem. So the offer, in most cases, doesn't need to be radically different, but the way it's messaged and communicated to the market needs to demonstrate why that offer is more relevant now than ever. I'll give you an example. In the midst of COVID, I spent $60,000 on a brand new mentor. Literally as this is all hitting the fan, I went and cut a $60,000 check to work with a new mentor. Why? I need mentorship now more than ever. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. I need someone who's been ahead of me down the path, been through recessions to help me navigate the journey. That's a necessity. And I see that as a necessity. And so if your clients don't see you as necessary and relevant now, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is if you figure it out now, and if you become necessary and relevant to them now, when the economy turns back around, and it will, and when things bounce back, and they will, you're golden. You're positioned to take the lion's share of the market's attention.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. How does your platform work in the sense that is it just focused on LinkedIn, or does it apply to really a broader set of social media, depending on what is, I guess, where my customers are? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, so for our clients, most of them are B2B focused consultants and professional service providers. Right. And the place to play is 100% LinkedIn. That's the fastest place for you to, build a list of targets and prospects you want to be working with, build relationships with them, get messages in front of them, get, as you do and you're very prolific at, get content in front of them, build a following. At the end of the day, our clients work in expertise driven businesses.
Right.
And when I'm hiring an expert, I want to know who that expert is. I want to know where their expertise lies. I want to know what to make of them. I want to be able to get a taste of how they think and how they operate. I talked to a prospect earlier today, and I asked him, how many of my videos did you watch before this call? And he said, I lost track. And he was literally in the conversation quoting my videos. It's like you said in that video, this, that, and the other. And I was like, did I say that? Okay.
I remember saying that. Right.
I'll take your word for it, right? But that's how we engage with experts, right? We want to know what you stand for, what you represent, what you're about before we talk to you or engage you. That's true if you're a coach. That's true if you're a consultant. That's true if you're a high value specialized service provider. And so LinkedIn, it certainly should not be the be all and the end all of your marketing strategy, but it ought to be the epicenter, because that's the fastest way for you to grow, build an audience, build relationships with your market, and get meaningful insights and thought leadership in front of them and compel them to want to have a conversation with you on the back of that.
So are you using, does it use, or are you using LinkedIn to, I think this is a fascinating question, how to build a business off of LinkedIn, because I think a lot of people are struggling. They know that there's value there, but the how to use it is the big question, right? And I've been going at LinkedIn for years, and with content and engagement and things. But I book business off of LinkedIn. I do. But I totally don't think I'm utilizing it the 100% to the 100% best that I could, right? I know I could book a whole lot more. And I think that's where the struggle is how do you really push your profile? How do you really push your content on LinkedIn to get that engagement? And I guess you have to, I guess that's what you work on with clients. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you help them position their LinkedIn pages and their profiles, maybe even their websites, their whole content to that one purpose, that one sort of unique value proposition. Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah, look, I think people are very superficial in their use of LinkedIn. They think if, like we were talking about earlier, they think if I get a bunch of connections and I post some almost meaningless kind of drivel that we can call content, that somehow I'm going to get clients. And then they go, well, I did all this stuff. Why didn't it work? Well, here's why. First of all, you need a growing audience. If you don't have a growing audience of people who are getting to know who you are, going from stranger to some kind of follower or engaged prospect. That's a problem. You got to grow the audience. And once they're in and they're paying attention to you, you need to have meaningful things to say. So content for the sake of content, not going to get you very far. Every single piece of content that you publish better challenge their way of thinking, show them a better way of looking at things, call out their mistakes, share an insight. They need to be trained. Your audience needs to be trained that every time they consume your content, they learn something tangibly beneficial to their business or to their role. And what happens is, if every time you show up on LinkedIn, you're creating value for the market and they're learning something from you, and that has tangible value in the way that they run their business, do their jobs, or whatever, lead their lives. Well, then guess what happens? It becomes my job to pay attention to you. Right. It becomes my job because I see the relevance and value in that. So I have people say to me, every time I see one of your videos on LinkedIn, I stop because I know I'm going to learn something. Right. So the first half of the battle is the battle for attention. And most people fail that game because they're just not saying meaningful things. They're not compelling. They're not speaking the market's language. They're not creating value. They're just creating content for the sake of creating content. And I just don't believe that's going to get you very far. It may make you famous. It might not make you rich.
I'm not even sure it'll make you famous with so much content out there, right? It's I mean, even that's. I mean, I see so much content now that you're absolutely right that it's just pointless. I mean, I don't advocate people to create content for the sake of creating content. A lot of my clients have that sort of strategy of, let me hire a content person and and just put content out there. And it's like, man, I don't think that's a great strategy.
Because it's not you. They want you. Yeah. If you're the expert, they want to hear from you. They want your perspective, not some content writer you paid $20 an hour to put out something they're probably putting out for 10 other clients at the same time. But the second piece here, Rhett, is the second piece real quickly is what happens after that is the piece that people often miss too. They maybe get the LinkedIn content piece and they're publishing and they're getting some engagement and it all looks fine and good. But what happens next, which in marketing parlance, we call that the middle of the funnel. Now people know who you are. They get a sense of what you're about. They think it's interesting. But then what's the missing piece? There's a big gap between I see your content on LinkedIn and I want to talk to you. That's a big gap.
Huge gap.
And that gap is,
Let's talk about that, because that to me, I see a lot of influencers or so-called influencers, a lot of people. I bet they're not making any money.
I know for a fact most of them aren't, but continue.
And I would put myself in that bracket in terms of, I mean, I make money from my consulting business. I don't make money from my articles. I don't make money from Inc. or Forbes or any of that, right? So, but people know who I am. Mm-hmm. They've seen my content before. If I didn't have my consulting business, I'd be really poor. So there is that gap of they know who you are, but there's no action in between, right? How do you take that and move it to the monetization of that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's more content, but it's a different type of content. So the middle of funnel it's the bridge between, this guy Rhett's kind of interesting. Like, I like his perspective. I don't really know what to do with it yet, but kind of interesting. Right. And, I need to talk to this guy. Like, we need to have a conversation. That's the middle of the funnel. So ultimately it's content. And we have some formulas and some frameworks around this that we teach our clients, but it's content that gets people engaged with the business problem that you solve. It's you demonstrate to them that, hey, we have a method. We call this the results mechanism. We have a mechanism through which you can get results and solve some of your toughest business problems. And the messaging of that is very important. And then through that content, we demonstrate to them that we understand their pain, we understand their plight. We've helped clients who are just like them get over very similar pains and challenges. We have a mechanism that can do so reliably. There's proof of it. Do you want to talk? So I'll give you a real example. If you look at all my videos, there's a caption at the bottom, like a little headline at the bottom, and it says 90daypipeline.com on all my videos. Every time somebody sees me and they engage with my content or they see my content, they're reminded 90daypipeline.com. Well, what the heck is that? I wonder. this guy's interesting. I like his perspective. Let's go there. And they go and they opt into a training, and I don't think it's a 30-minute video. Maybe it's shorter now. I forget. We got a couple going. And there they can engage in my approach and who I help, how I serve, what it looks like, case studies, mechanism. I can engage them intellectually, emotionally. We have this experience we've designed middle of funnel off of LinkedIn now. And on the back of that, people go, huh, maybe I should talk to this guy. Maybe he has what I need. Without that, I wouldn't get very much results.
Right. So that helps drive. What you're doing is you're really giving people a place to go to take that next step.
100%.
Okay. What does something like this cost? I mean, one of the questions you always get when I look at these programs is, okay, what's the price? What's the cost? How do I, what can I expect if I really want to sort of transform my business like this? What is it? And you don't have to be specific, but just a roundabout idea of what that looks like, and how do I, how to plan for, so people could, if they're on here today and they're thinking, this sounds interesting, what am I expecting to pay?
A lot.
A lot? Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, our program is definitely not for everybody. We typically serve consultants and service providers who are, if they're on the solo end, they're already doing 6 figures or close to 6 figures. Or right. If they're in corporate and they want to launch a consulting business, they'll have a very clear path to hitting 6 figures. Typically, our clients are charging at least $20,000 for an engagement, but usually a lot more than that. And then we have clients that go all the way up to $5-10 million. So it depends on what level you're at. We have solo consultants who come in, and if they're making $100,000, they want to get to 250 or 500. That's usually the goal, right? And then we have some folks that are smaller firms that are coming in. They're maybe at $500,000, $1 million, and they want to get to $2, $3, $4, $5 million. So it depends on the level, but it's a very involved engagement.
Okay, so it sounds like it's not just a couple forms and it's hands-on, kind of reshaping your whole image and your whole content strategy and everything else. It sounds like
it's invasive surgery for your business. Like we're gonna cut your business open, spill all the guts out, and decide what to keep and what to fix.
Okay. I mean, I think that's really a good way to describe it, right? I mean that's helpful to know that it's that sort of intense, and you've got to want to do that, right? To figure out. I mean, that's the catch to it, I think, is you've got to be willing to go through that process.
And that's a really important point. I had another conversation earlier today with a gentleman, and I asked him, what's holding you back from jumping into the program? And his response to me was, I'm not sure if I'm going to put in the work. And I said, that's fair, because if you're not sure about that, I don't want you to do this. And I see this all the time, is that people, they have the best of intentions, right? But they don't actually want it bad enough. They say they have a goal. I want to get this much in revenue. I want to make this much money, but that goal doesn't have a clear why. They don't know why they want the money, why they want the revenue, why they want the clients, why they want the growth, why they want the team. They don't have a clear why. It's just lip service. And to the extent that your goals remain arbitrary, you're probably not going to achieve them. No matter who helps you, me or anybody else for that matter.
Yeah, no, it sounds like something you've really got to want. And that's okay. I mean, if you don't want it and you're happy with whatever it is you're doing, fine. But this sounds like it's clearly, if you really want to go to the next level and you really want to figure out your unique value proposition, this is a kind of program that might help. So
it's not for the faint of heart.
No, I think I like that. I like that honesty and that transparency, right? It's not. Because I feel like some of the stuff you see out there is sort of generic and plug and play, or they try to say it's very easy. It's very, you just do this, and all of a sudden, your clients appear. And I just don't think it's that easy. To me, anything that's worth this kind of work is not going to be easy for you.
And my messaging is the opposite. We have a weekly mindset lesson with our clients every Monday. And a recurring theme in that mindset lesson I try to share with them is that if you are building a business, early days or later days, doesn't matter. If you're building a business, you built something from scratch, you're building something from scratch, You are engaging in one of the most difficult, challenging, arduous activities that I have personally ever had to experience. And most people aren't cut out for it. Most people don't have what it takes. Most people can't pull it off. So good for you. You're in the game. You're in the arena. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for anybody who is in the arena playing the game, because this act and practice of building a business is a challenging one, but a rewarding one when you give it your all.
What is for you? Talk about a couple of clients, and you don't have to name them by name, but that you're particularly proud of. Like you look at and you say, that makes me smile. That was really cool what they did. Really interesting what they did. I just aged myself by the word cool, but somebody that you're really proud of.
I mean, there's a number of examples. The thing that I find is that client results and success is the best drug in the world. Right? It never gets old to see clients win, as I'm sure you see in your practice as well, Rhett. So, I got a client who came to me 2 years ago when we first launched the 90-day pipeline. It was one of the first clients in the program. And at the time, he was an engineer that left a large medical device company, going out on his own. But he came to me and he said, look, I'm an engineer. I've got a PhD in engineering. In fact, I'm great at what I do. I don't know anything about marketing or sales or business development or any of this stuff. And I don't want to figure it out on my own. Can you help me? And I said, yeah, sure. Right. So we worked with him. And now a couple of years later, he's high six figures in revenue. He's got a team of 4 or 5 people, went from solo to a team of 4 or 5 people. He's got big blue chip clients. He's got this incredible business now that is growing, and he's doing, his work is actually saving lives because it's medical device work is where he plays, right? So he's having this incredible impact on his market, growing his business, growing as an individual, building a team, and to be able to take him from the early days of his business, the infancy stage, to this growth stage he's seeing now has been incredibly rewarding. Another client that comes to mind is working in the renewable energy space, solar, renewable energy. And we really specialized and positioned him in that industry. And now he's helping a number of other companies who are implementing and building game-changing technology that are going to help us solve our energy crisis, which is really rewarding to take part in. So, there's a lot of stories like this, but I think for me, honestly, at the end of the day, it's not about the money. You get to a certain point, and Rhett, I think you probably identify with this, where the money is not the motivator. After a certain point, you have your basic needs met. I don't have an elaborate, luxurious lifestyle. I don't need a yacht. As long as I have a nice, fancy sports car, I'm happy. Simple man, right? Okay. But beyond that, the money's not going to do much for you. It's all about impact, and that's what drives me every day.
I want to clarify something in my own mind, because I think there are a lot of people out there who don't have the broad thought leadership yet, and they don't have the sort of the content and the stuff out there yet. It sounds like though you can still work with them if they're willing to sort of come up with that strategy, right? So you don't have to have 100,000 followers on LinkedIn to start a program with you. It sounds like if you have a real good specialty or a real narrow specialty or something that is could be very valuable to an organization, then you can probably help them.
Oh, absolutely. Most of my clients, like 99% of them, don't have the large following in the beginning. They don't have, and the large following is not even necessary, to be honest, in most cases. For my average client, if they're charging $50,000, $100,000 per engagement, they don't need a massive social media following. They need a very focused following that they can engage, because the dollar value of the deal sizes are so high. So absolutely, most of my clients don't have any of that. What they do have is very strong subject matter expertise. They know that they are either one of the best in the world at this particular thing, or they see the opportunity to make such a claim with the right positioning, and they can see how that is going to be a massive boon for their business. That's what binds them together.
Gotcha. And let me ask you this. I was having a discussion with somebody the other day about this, and I want to get your take on it before we go. They're a coach, and they asked me about this, and I said, well, look, they wanted to know if they should sort of open up their LinkedIn to everybody, because they've really curated their LinkedIn profile and their network on LinkedIn just around coaches, and because they help coaches grow. And they wanted to know, should I broaden that and just let everybody into my LinkedIn world? And I said, I don't think you need to, because you're doing really well curating the group of people that you're gonna serve. You don't need everybody in the world on your LinkedIn page. If you're doing, she said, well, it's bringing me a lot of business. I'm booked up constantly. It's growing, but I keep hearing that I need to grow my LinkedIn network and let people in. And I said, I don't think you need to, because you're doing really well with a focused, curated group that you have. I mean, that seems to be a smart strategy to me.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether it's proactive building of the network or reactive building of the network. If you're being proactive and you're going out and finding the people that you want to engage and build relationships with, absolutely be very focused in who you're going after, who you want to do business with. And you want to think about that in two ways. Who do I want to do business with? But also, who has influence over the people that I want to do business with? And that's a neglected strategy in many cases. If you think about the client that you want to serve, that client, if they don't know you yet, they already have relationships with other people, consultants, service providers, experts, advisors. And if you build relationships with those people and they understand your value proposition, they may bring you into the client if there's value there. So consider who you want to go after, the client, but also consider the back door into the client, who has those relationships already, and build up those relationships very deliberately and proactively as far as what comes to you, which happens when you're prolific and you create content and you're active on the platform. People will come to you. There, I'd be open to casting a wider net, and I'll accept anybody that sends me a connection request or wants to follow, because I'm not losing a whole lot. I'm not expending energy or effort to try to reach these people. But if they've connected with me, presumably they see value in it. Maybe they know somebody who'll see value in it, and I have little to lose there by accepting that request.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. It's sort of like, you just never know, right? You never know who they, like, as you said, who they have influence over, or what door they can open. Absolutely.
Well, it's funny, when we think about referrals, last point I'll make here, Rhett, is referrals can come from people that have worked with you, and referrals can come from people that have not worked with you. And I get a ton of people that come to me and they go, oh, I was referred to you by somebody. Oh, well, I'm curious, who referred you? So-and-so name I've never heard before, right? Because they're familiar with my work because they followed on LinkedIn or wherever it may be. And they said to their friend or colleague, maybe you should talk to Ahmad, but we've never worked together. So if you expand your conception of what a referral is, what you realize is there's a bigger opportunity out there for you to get people to refer to you who you don't even know necessarily.
No, I love that thought process, right? It's rethinking what a referral is. I hadn't thought of it like that, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Interesting. All right, well, this has been fascinating, man. Let's have a talk again, because I think I'd like to see what your thoughts are in 6 months or so as to how, COVID is affecting the sector of business that you work in, because I think this is going to be a transformative time for consultants and coaches and people like us, who are like me, who are trying to sort of figure out what the next phase is. So thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure. Great talking to you.
Yeah, no doubt. And thank you for spending some time with us today here on the Power Lunch. We'll put your website in the links to the show so that people can find you directly. And we'll see you next Tuesday for our next episode. Got a great lineup. If you want to check that out, go to powerlunch.live, and we'll see you next week.